Bienvenidos a nuestro tercer encuentro de la celebración del Mes de la Herencia Hispana. Hoy, los estudiantes y miembros de la Sociedad Honoraria Hispánica de Blazer High School y los organizadores presentarán datos relevantes e información documentada acerca de los estereotipos y aspectos de la vida de la comunidad hispana. Los invitamos a formar parte de esta sesión en la cual los participantes evaluarán sus conceptos sobre el racismo, la discriminación y los prejuicios o predisposición de la comunidad hispana en los Estados Unidos. Esta sesión nos permitirá entender y valorar a nuestros semejantes sin discriminación de color de piel, raza, origen, inclinación sexual o religiosa. Bienvenidos.
Black, a thug, Muslim, a terrorist, Latino, an illegal immigrant. You may wonder about American stereotypes. What do you think they are? These are just a few stereotypes that exist in our society, whether we believe in them or not. We can't deny that they are in our social circles. Our world is filled with countless amounts of unique cultures. People have passed down traditions for generations in order to keep their cultures alive. It's what we humans have done for centuries. But there are times when our society just can't let these practices happen. There are times when our prejudices stop people from doing what they love. There are times when our preconceptions or racial biases force people to hide key parts of who they are. There are times when our judgments prevent people from simply existing. We don't take the time to understand and appreciate other people's cultures just because of one bad example. This happens all the time. Because the media, the news, television shows, movies, or even magazines put labels that exist in our society. Those are labels that must be eradicated in our society.
Over time, we have heard terms such as sexy senorita, who is always showing her cleavage, or fiery hot spicy Latin lovers that over-sexualize Latinos. El bandito or Latino criminal, Latino ignorant or kind of inept, Latino poor or lack of economic status, and Latinos who always work in lower wage jobs are recurrent stereotypes within the media. Stereotypes are very much linked to social historical context. Not all Latinos are the same race or even the same nationality. We all look way different, sometimes even enough to play people from places we can't even find on the map. It is a huge mistake to think that all Hispanos or Latinos are the same Latin lovers, sexpots, maids, gardeners, drug dealers, or lazy people. We've been seeing a lot more Latinos on TV lately, and that is great and all. But what do these opportunities actually look like despite Latino directors and actors making meaningful headway in Hollywood? Most of these roles are still reduced to infuriating cultural stereotypes. Hispanic stereotypes in Hollywood. Latinos may be the largest minority group in the United States, but Hollywood has consistently portrayed Hispanics very narrowly. Viewers of American television shows and films, for example, are far more likely to see Latinos play maids and gardeners than lawyers and doctors. Furthermore, Hispanic men and women have both been sexualized in Hollywood. Latino men have long been stereotyped as Latin lovers, while Latinas have been characterized as exotic, sensual vamps. Both the male and female version of the Latin lover are framed as having fiery temperaments. When these stereotypes aren't at play, Hispanics are portrayed as recent immigrants, gangbangers, and criminals. So let's talk about them here. Latina, a maid. Latina, a sexpot, a gangbanger. A bandito, a gangster. Latino, a drug lord or drug trafficker. Latino, a gardener. Latina, Rosa or Maria. The maid Hollywood lovers, Latinos as janitors or maids. From Family Guy's Consuela, wearing plastic gloves with a rag in one hand to Jennifer Lopez in 2002's Maid in Manhattan. Such characters have inundated pop culture. Sometimes the trope comes from Latino producers. Eva Longoria's Devious Maids was criticized when it debated as a wasted opportunity, though it lasted 4 seasons. These stereotypes are not only evidenced in Family Guy, many other Comedy Central shows such as South Park and Tosh Zero, or even movies such as Spanglish in 2004 participate in this trend. Some American shows are based on a white family with different skills and a way of speaking about others and making fun of their cultures or ethnicities, including domestics and labor workers. The stereotype that the majority of Latinos living in states work as janitors, maids, and gardeners couldn't be farther from the truth. It's also one of the most harmful Latino stereotypes that's consistently being reinforced by Hollywood. Needless to say, there are Latinos living in the states of all occupations, whether it's doctors, lawyers, computer engineers, artists, journalists, teachers, bankers, you name it. To be clear, there is nothing wrong with domestic work. It's honorable and respectable employment. The spicy sex pot when Modern Family debuted in 2009 with Sofia Vergara as Gloria Delgado-Pritchett. Many saw the show's diverse casting choices as enlightening, yet many Latinos complain that Vergara's character often devolves into a mix of sex siren and feisty Latina tropes. What's wrong with being a stereotype? Vergara has said in the past, Gloria's character is inspired by my mom and aunt. The Gangbanger. While 1961's Will Side Story will forever be iconic, it did win 10 Oscars and catapulted Rita Moreno into legendary status. Robert Wise and Jerome Robbins' film adaptation of the 1951 Broadway musical helped set the template of Latinos as gang members and street thugs, as seen in everything from 1993's Mi Vida Loca to Netflix's Orange is the New Black. Spanish-only speaker. Not all Latinos speak only Spanish. Some Latinos, in fact, don't speak Spanish at all. Many Hollywood depictions, however, like 2004 Spanglish, Spotlight, those who struggle through English, unable to communicate with others. While this may be true in some instances, the prevalence of these types of characters paints an incomplete picture of an entire community. The drug lord, drug trafficker, or criminals, we can directly point the finger to Hollywood, both the television and film industries, for at least perpetuating the terrible stereotype that most or all Latinos are criminals. A study showed that half of the Latino characters you see on television are portrayed as criminals. That's a huge problem, as it feeds into another stereotype that is damaging, dangerous, and totally inaccurate. It's no secret that Latinos have been portrayed negatively in Hollywood since its inception. Characters have often been criminals, starting with the banditos of every film, who became the drug lords and criminals of today. We are all for Latinos on screen, but why are we always portrayed in a negative way? The 1914 silent film Bronco Billy and The Greaser, one of the numerous Greaser films, which portrays Latinas as dangerous, immoral drunks. The hero in the story is a white cowboy who rescues the white leading lady from this criminal. These films were released in a time when there was conflict in the Southwest, along the U.S. and Mexico border. Think about how many such narratives have been presented in Hollywood since then. West Side Story is a classic. We will forever be incredibly proud of Rita and her accomplishment being the first Latina to win an Oscar for her role in the film. But think about it. Not only is she an actual Puerto Rican and or Latina in a film partly about Puerto Ricans, but the film portrays Latina as gang members. Latina gang members who fight against white youth. Romancing the Stone is meant to be a comedy, but it's not funny for Latinos. The film portrays Colombians as murderers and smugglers, and refers to the country as a third world toilet. The more you see, the more you get misinformed about Hispanic people. We all have labels of how we can get rid of them. First of all, We'll define key terminology to know what we need to cope with. Racial bias means implicit prejudice, refers to views or stereotypes that affects an individual's knowledge, behaviors, and decisions in an unconscious manner. Racist biases are a sort of implicit bias. A stereotype is a belief that unfairly that all people or things with a particular characteristic are the same. A stereotype is a generalized belief about a specific group of people in social psychology. It is a preconceived notion that people have about every member of a given group. Racism is a belief that different races possess distinct characteristics, abilities, or qualities. Racism is the scientifically incorrect notion that various groups of individuals have different behavioral tendencies corresponding to physical appearance and can be split based on race supremacy. Discrimination means the unjust or prejudicial treatment of different categories of people or things, especially the topics of race, age, or sex. Discrimination is defined as making a distinction against a person or thing based on their membership in a group, class, category, rather than on their individual merits. Prejudice is an opinion that is not based on reason or actual experience. It is defined as the emotional reaction to someone based on their perceived group membership. A Latino is a person who has descended from Latin America. A Latina is a general neutral label that gives non-binary Latin American people a name to call themselves that doesn't give a gender role. A Hispano is a person who speaks Spanish, also a person descended from Spanish settlers. Intersectionality means the interwoven nature of social categorizations such as race, class, and gender and how they apply to a given individual or group, regarded the creating overlapping and interdependent systems of discrimination or disadvantages. Intersectionality is a theoretical framework for analyzing how different components of a person's social political identities interact to produce various forms of discrimination and privilege. Can we stop stereotyping people? How? Our class will provide some tips on how to stop stereotyping. Tip 1. We can stop stereotyping people by not prejudging a person and by treating everyone equally, no matter their race, religion, sex, age, and ethnicity. Tip 2. Stereotypes are something that can be easily avoided. By leaving your racial biases at the door, being accepting of others, no matter where they are from, and being educated on the stereotypes cast on people, we can build a better society. Tip 3. Yes, it is never too late to change for the better. All we need to do is be more open-minded in how we see people. We can't allow biases and stereotypes to affect the way we view and interact with other people. Tip 4. The best way to correct these bad behaviors is by stepping back and reflecting on how we can improve ourselves. Tip 5. As it is with any kind of bullying, you need to realize what you are doing is negatively impacting other people's lives, and then just take the necessary steps to improve yourself, such as making amends with someone you may have been rude to, or simply by learning more about the culture and or ethnic group that you want to know more about. When I read, diversity is not adversity, I interpret it as a meaning the change to a more diverse society is not an adversary to society, but an advancement to society.